Welcome to According to Sam, folks. This is episode 180, and happy Friday. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Boy, did that escalate fast? On Monday's show, we were reporting about the Supreme Court ruling, and the two justices that were appointed by Republicans that joined with the three justices that were appointed by the Democrats. Why don't the Democrat justices ever abandon their political viewpoint and side with Republicans? Why don't you ever see that? Why is it always the Republican justices, particularly John Roberts, siding with the Democrats? But goes back to what we were talking about in the last podcast. But after this ruling from the Supreme Court that said that the Biden administration could come in and cut down the barbed wire in this particular part of the Rio Grande River where a lot of migrants are coming across. And I had said in my last podcast that that the Biden administration sued the state of Texas. It's not what happened. The state of Texas sued the Biden administration, and that's why it went to the Supreme Court, because at first the Biden administration was just coming in and just cutting down these barriers. I mean, again, they want the immigration. They want this illegal immigration. They're driving it. And this has escalated. You now have 25 states in the union. There's 50 states in the union. So 25 states have joined the state of Texas. So this is 26 states. This is a majority of states have joined together in defiance of the Biden administration. And this is not only an issue for Texas. So these other states, they have a vested interest in what is going on in Eagle Pass and at the Rio Grande River. They have a vested interest, each and every one of those states that have joined Texas, because like I told you in the last podcast, Texas is only the door. These people are coming through the border in Texas, but they're not staying in Texas. I mean, Governor Abbott is busing a few of them to liberal cities that are sanctuary cities. They said that they were sanctuary cities. Now they're feeling a little bit of the pain, and they don't want to be sanctuary cities anymore. But Abbott's busing a few to these areas. The majority of these migrants that are coming across that are being flown around the country to other states, they're being flown around by the Biden administration. The Biden administration is sending them to other states. So these other states are affected. These other states have a vested interest in shutting the door, and Texas is the door. Just earlier this week, there was this big controversy, and it's a new narrative that Mitch McConnell, in a closed-door meeting, told the Republican caucus in the Senate that Donald Trump doesn't want us to do a immigration deal because he wants to, it's a campaign year. He's campaigning for the White House, and he wants to leave the issue for when he comes in so he can take care of it. And then the narrative went around that, Donald Trump's preventing the deal. Donald Trump's blocking the deal. Are you crazy? I want you to listen to Mitt Romney here. He was this snake. He was a part of this narrative that was going around yesterday that it's Donald Trump's fault because he's blocking the deal. Take a listen to Mitt Romney here.
Do you think this is what he wants, the issue, Donald Trump? This is what he's doing?
I think the border is a very important issue for Donald Trump.
I think the border is a very important issue for Donald Trump. No fool. The border is a very important issue for all of us. We're all impacted by millions of Americans. It's a very important issue for us. Maybe not for you. I know you have family down in Mexico, and your family went down to Mexico for security when Mormons were being persecuted. I understand that. I understand you may have a different perspective, Mitt Romney, but no, it's not only an issue for Donald Trump, it's an issue for all of us.
I think the border is a very important issue for Donald Trump. And the fact that he would communicate to Republican senators and congresspeople that he doesn't want us to solve the border problem because he wants to blame Biden for it is really appalling. But the reality...
So that's the narrative, that Donald Trump doesn't want to solve the border issue. Donald Trump doesn't want to solve the border issue, and that he told Mitch McConnell to not do a deal, and it's Donald Trump's fault. How crazy would you have to be to believe that? How crazy would you have to be? Even if it is true, even if Biden's the president of the United States, Donald Trump's not the president of the United States. Even if it is true, why would you listen to Donald Trump, Mitch McConnell, or Mitt Romney? If you guys got a deal on the table, do the deal. Get the deal done. Send it to Joe Biden, or send it to the House. First of all, do the deal in the Senate and then send it to the House and get the House to pass it. And then you can send it to Joe Biden. If you got such a great deal on the table, it's not Trump's fault. It's ridiculous. But even if it's true that Trump said that, he's 100% right. Why would you do a deal 10 months before the election? The Biden administration has allowed record numbers of illegal migrants, illegal drugs, anything that you want to bring across the border. Record numbers have crossed the border under the Biden administration in his first 3 years. And you want to do a deal 10 months before his reelection so he can get a pat on the back and run on it in the election like he did something? You have destroyed our border. What are you talking about? You know, why would you do a deal with Joe Biden 10 months before the election so he'll have something to run on? Look at this. Look at this. When Joe Biden first came into office, the very first thing that he did was end Trump's stay in Mexico policy. Trump had a policy in place when he left office that the migrants had to stay in Mexico and wait for their asylum hearing, that they couldn't come into the United States. So Biden, one of the very first things that he does is that he ends the stay in Mexico policy. I think the state of Texas sued him for that, for attempting to end the stay in Mexico policy. The Supreme Court ruled in a 5-4 decision. Guess who sided with the Dems? And in a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court ruled that Joe Biden can end the stay in Mexico policy. The state of Texas put the buoys up. Remember? State of Texas put the buoys up that would block the swimmers from swimming across the Rio Grande. Biden administration sues, forces them to move the buoys. State of Texas implements a policy that would allow the state of Texas law enforcement to arrest these illegal immigrants and deport them. Biden administration sues and blocks it. So the Biden administration has been a roadblock to the state of Texas, shutting the door and stopping this illegal migration from day one. Since he came into office, he's been a roadblock, and it's as if, it's not even as if, I mean, it's a fact that he wants the illegal immigration to happen. They want the floods to come in. He's allowed record numbers to come in, and then 10 months before for his election, he's like, oh, let's get a deal done. And it's not only that. They want to get the deal done, and the deal on the table is that, we'll shut your border if you allow us to send $60 billion to Ukraine, to borrow $60 billion to send to Ukraine. I'm like, what? That's the deal? That's the deal? You're not going to shut the border unless we give you, allow you to borrow $60 billion more in our name to send to Ukraine, which is like flushing it down the toilet, essentially. I can't believe what's going on. It's absolute madness. Absolute madness. I think that the Republicans would be fools to do a deal. I know that the deal that they are trying to do is it's DOA in the House of Representatives because, they want a pathway to citizenship. And no, there's no pathway to citizenship. Donald Trump says when he gets elected that the deportations begin. And I'm voting for deportations in November. 100%. And a lot of other people are going to be voting for deportations too. A lot of people who you wouldn't expect to be voting for deportations, because this is going to be hurting the Biden administration significantly. It already is hurting the Biden administration significantly. I want you to listen to some of these Black voters in Chicago. Because again, Governor Abbott's busing a few of these migrants to New York and to Chicago, and it is having a significant effect on the resources in those urban areas. And in Chicago, they're not happy about it. Take a listen to this clip.
Yeah, absolutely, Jackie. You have lifelong Democrats who have never once in their life voted for a Republican who are now saying they are leaving the party or at least considering another option over this. There is just a huge amount of outrage in Black neighborhoods across Chicago over the migrant crisis and how leaders in this deep blue city and state have spent nearly $800 million to take care of the migrants while ignoring the lack of resources in Black communities that has been happening for decades.
Are the migrants getting more than blacks? Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
Why would you keep bringing someone in? You don't have the infrastructure, right, and you don't have the finances. They could stop this tonight if they wanted to.
They could stop this tonight if they wanted to. That's what this guy says. I don't know if this guy is a genius or what, but you don't have to be a genius to know that if they wanted to stop the illegal migration tonight, they could stop it. The Biden administration doesn't want to stop it. They could put the buoys back in the river. They could leave the razor wire up. They could reinstate the stay in Mexico policy. There's tons of things they can do if they wanted to stop this. This gentleman says that if they wanted to stop it, they could stop it tonight. It doesn't take an Einstein to know that.
Are the migrants getting more than blacks? Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
Why would you keep bringing someone in? You don't have the infrastructure, right, and you don't have the finances. They could stop this tonight if they wanted to.
Mayor Brandon Johnson has faced protests in neighborhoods across the city for trying to take over community centers to house migrants. And as the flood of people coming across the southern border continues, there is growing frustration with President Biden for allowing it to happen. And it's an issue that could ultimately hurt him with this key part of the Democratic base come November.
I'm on the fence right now. I'm on the fence in terms of parties, in terms of support.
See, that's the problem right now, right there, though. Is that, why would you even be on the fence? You're on the fence? You're still 50-50 about voting for this?
For the neighborhood, support for Black people in general.
What I say to President Biden and the entire Democratic Party is that you have missed the mark with this. And you have lost some very committed voters.
Nearly half of black voters in a recent Fox News poll said they disapprove of Biden's handling of border security. And while some may vote Republican, the other big concern for Democrats is if many black voters just decide to sit out this election.
Yeah, either or hurts Biden significantly. If they vote for Republicans or if they don't vote at all, it is it's going to be a huge problem for Joe Biden. So the next thing I want to talk about is this Kari Lake phone call. Or no, it wasn't a phone call. This was the head of the Republican Party in Arizona who showed up at Kari Lake's house and sat at her kitchen table and didn't know that she was recording the conversation. And he proceeds to bribe her. To attempt to bribe her. And this story is everything that I've been telling you in the last few podcasts about the cabal of witches that are running our world, the way things are done in our society, and the veil of secrecy. The interesting thing about this is that Kari Lake refused to take the money, and she's being offered money. She's being offered a job, and you'll hear. I'm going to play it here because there's a lot that we need to discuss about this. But this recording, audio recording of this Republican, the chairman of the Republican Party in Arizona, this voice recording just really highlights everything that I've been telling you about with this cabal. And I want to listen to this. And if you haven't heard it, this will be your first opportunity to hear it. But I'm going to be stopping it and highlighting some of the things that this guy says in this recording. All right, let's take a listen.
Is there a number at which
I can be bought?
not be bought?
That's what it's about.
You can take a pause for a couple of years.
No.
And then go right back to what you're doing.
No.
So to give you context here, the reason that he's there at her house, this is the chairman of the Republican Party in Arizona. The reason he's there at her house is to get her to not run for the United States Senate. You remember Kari Lake? She ran for the governor's seat in Arizona and was cheated, 100% robbed. The Secretary of State, the person who was supposed to be, or not supposed to be, the person who is elected to run the elections, the Secretary of State is who she was running against, and the Secretary of State refused to recuse herself from her duties as Secretary of State as running the election, as she's running for governor, and she printed ballots on paper that was too small for the voting machines by accident. The people who showed up on election day, it caused long lines. People were unable to stay in line. A lot of people didn't vote for that reason because they left because of the long lines, because the Secretary of State who was running against Kari Lake accidentally used the wrong paper. So she was cheated in the governor's race, and now she's running for the Senate seat, and the chairman of the Republican Party is at her house to talk her out, to attempt to bribe her not to run for the United States Senate. And that's the context of this conversation.
Is there a number at which
I can be bought?
not be bought?
That's what it's about.
Not be
You can take a
bought.
pause for a couple of years.
No.
And then go right back to what you're doing.
No. 10 million, 20 million, 30, no. A billion, no. This is not about money. This is about our country. I think it's disturbing that they would even
Who's they? I think it's disturbing that they would even. Who's they? Nobody knows who the they is. We're going to talk about who the they is. I've been telling you for the past few weeks about who the they is.
I think this is...
No, to be fair, even me, I'll say this. I want a fresh face right now for the reason that I've never seen anyone. I can't think of a single person in a federal race who lost, ran in and won. I can't think of it. If you can think of it, let me know.
I am not going to let these people who hate our country tell me not to run. You should call them and tell them to get behind me. So what's going on? What is? I'm assuming this is our friend.
This is back east.
Back east. The Wicked Witches of the East.
There are very powerful people.
Very powerful people. There are very powerful people that want to keep you out. They're very powerful people that want to keep you out. Remember a few podcasts ago when we read the article from Time about the 2020 election. And this article goes into how there, and it's right here underlined, a well-funded cabal of powerful people ranging across industries and ideologies, working together behind the scenes to influence perceptions, change rules and laws, and steer media coverage to control the flow of information. This is in this Time article about what these very powerful people, cabal of powerful people, did in the 2020 election. In the 2020 election. This is from the Time article. A well-funded cabal of powerful people. And then this guy says that there's powerful people from back east, the Wicked Witches of the East, that want to keep you out.
There are very powerful people that want to keep you out.
No, they do.
But they're willing to put their money where their mouth is in a big way. So, this conversation never happened.
This is crazy, though. They should want me. I'm a great candidate. People love me. These people are corrupt.
Well, maybe you're right.
They are right. They are corrupt.
These people are corrupt. Well, maybe you're right. Wow. This recording, when I heard this for the first time, I was like, wow, man, I've been talking about this on my podcast.
Don't go. Do you ever though? I'll get myself in trouble. If you say no, which is fine, it's your choice. Don't tell people.
They're gonna try to have me murdered.
Wow. They're gonna try to. They are gonna try to have me murdered. Who's they? They definitely murder people. I'm gonna be honest. She's right to be suspicious about the fact that if she doesn't take the money, that they are going to try to murder her. Who's they? The Wicked Witches of the East.
I'll get myself in trouble. If you say no, which is fine, it's your choice. Don't tell people.
They're gonna try to have me murdered.
Not either. Today's world, man. If that stuff that came out last week is right about the cartel stuff, man. They say the cartel's operating in 50 states right now.
The cartels are, oh my God. Listen, people, this guy is the chairman of the Republican Party in the state of Arizona. The state of Arizona is one of 4 border states of that border Mexico, where the cartels come from. It's one of 4. There's only 4 states that border Mexico: Arizona, California, Texas, and New Mexico. This guy is chairman of the Republican Party. Like I just telling you that Joe Biden has allowed record numbers of migrants, drugs, whatever. And this guy is saying that the cartels, or Kari Lake says they're going to try to kill me And he says, the cartels, they operate in 50 states, the cartels are everywhere now. We got the cartels in here. And I told you last week that the witches are even the heads of the cartels. The witches are in the cartels. They're the heads of your churches. They're the heads of the cartel. They're the heads of the political infrastructure, business. They're the heads of all of it. They're running all of it. So these witches work very closely with the cartels, with the mafia, with the crime syndicates. These witches don't have a problem working with them. And wow. And she says that they're going to try to kill me. And he says, well, the cartels, they're in all 50 states. Blown away.
They have me murdered.
I wouldn't doubt that either. Today's world, man. If that stuff that came out last week is right about the cartel stuff, man. They said the cartel's operating in 50 states right now. Like all 50, you know? So
what's going on? Who is it? What?
Forget the who.
Forget the who. We don't want to talk about the who. We don't want to talk about the who. Forget the who. You don't want to know about the who.
So what's going on? Who is it? What?
Forget the who. Let me just tell you the what. Let's just say there are people calling around saying, gosh, no, they can't repeat this. Never repeat this. If you say no, don't, because say, I got offered to buy out. Don't use it. Because then we lose our ability to get things done.
Wow. I mean, there's so much in this recording. She says, who? And he says, forget the who. Let's talk about the who. He says, before I start talking about numbers, I just got to make sure that you're not going to go around saying that we are bribing you, because we're getting ready to start talking about numbers. Forget the who. We're ready to start talking about numbers. But before I start talking about numbers, I want to qualify. You're not going to go out and start, saying that we tried to bribe you and that we offered you these numbers, because it's going to, we're going to lose our ability to get things done in the future. If you go out and you start talking about this, then we will lose our ability, our ability, not his ability, our ability to get things done in the future. Take a listen.
I got offered to buy out. Don't use it. Because then we lose our ability to get things done.
Let me go back.
Saying, gosh, no, they can't repeat this. Never repeat this. If you say no, don't, because say, I got offered to buy out. Don't use it. Because then we lose our ability to get things done in the future.
Jeez.
Here's my problem. Rather than just say, let's work with her, she's a great candidate, because they don't own me. And it pisses me off.
Yeah, I said it was about ownership.
It's about control.
I don't know it's about control.
It's absolutely about control.
It's about being on the team. I guess that's, you know what I mean?
It's about being on the team. Whose side are you on? There's really only two sides, people. And you need to figure out whose side you on. You want to be on the team? You want to be on their team? Or do you want to be on the right side? Because these people are not on the right side. And you need to decide what team you want to be.
It's about being on the team. I guess that's, you know what I mean?
They want to be on the team.
They want you to be on their team.
But
just team. You know?
But if they're pushing a globalist agenda, I can't do that.
It's not a globalist agenda. It is a globalist agenda. But let's stop calling it a globalist agenda. Let's stop calling it globalism. This is a witch agenda, and these people are witches. This is a very, very dark agenda to bring in a very, very dark kingdom that is going to put human beings in a totalitarian system that they will never, ever, ever, ever get out of. That's what this is about. This is not about globalism. And these are not just globalists. These people have a very, very dark, and they have been working at it for so long, and they play the long game too. That's the thing that you got to understand is that these people play the long game. You have people that have been working for the mission of this world totalitarian order that will never ever see it come to fruition, but because they're part of this religion of witchcraft, they work towards it, even though they will be dead before it ever comes to pass. But that's how they have such a long game, and they have a long game, and that's what this is about. This isn't just about globalism, like this is some conspiracy theory that that we're talking about here. This is real stuff, and it's happening right now. It's spiritual warfare.
You know what I mean?
They want to be on the team.
They want you to be on their team.
But
Just team. You know?
But if they're pushing a globalist agenda, I can't do that. So what do they want? What do they want me to do?
You want me to stay out for 2 years. What? I'll tell you what I can offer you.
And now we start talking about money. Now we're getting to the dollars, getting to the dollar signs, dollar bills, y'all. Let me tell you what I can offer you.
But I said you can do whatever you want. It's talking head, this and that. So the ask of me was, it's kind of funny. So the ask I got today from back east was,
back east.
Is there any companies out there or something that could just put her on the payroll and give her to keep her out? And I said,
how things are done. This is how things are done. Are there any companies out there that we can just put her on the payroll and just give her a job on the board or some executive position? She didn't even have to show up to work. You didn't even have to show up to work, and then we'll just write you a check. This is how these witches get things done. This is how it's done.
Is there any companies out there or something that could just put her on the payroll and give her to keep her out? And I said, well, what are you willing to do? Whatever we need to do.
This is about defeating Trump. And I think that's a bad thing for our country. DeSantis is not America first. This is about the final death blow to Trump. And I don't think that's good for our country.
You know I love Trump. I love Trump.
It's not good for our country, Jeff.
It's not, but at the same time, I'm not even sure Trump can win again. I don't know that he can win again. I think what it really comes down to for a lot of people, it's not really about like control or agenda. It's just about the ability to raise money to win. You know, if you really want to know, all of politics boils down to money. I think. I always believe that. And even on their end, like what makes them the most money?
I know all these consultants don't want their payday to end, and I don't want to make a deal with these kind of people. This is a hill worth dying on. I'm not. If they're going to steal the election to make me and our movement go away, I'm not letting them do that. I owe it to the people of Arizona,
Or
to carry their torch and their voice.
Or you don't go away, but you pause.
This is the battles right now, Jeff.
Battles right now.
And you fill your coffers.
No, the battle is right now. The battle is right now, and we don't have time to pause on this battlefield.
You're not. You can't scratch their back. It's not afraid of you.
Yeah.
You don't have anything to offer them. And they're sitting around people that have stuff to offer them. You know what I mean? It's just it's a back scratching club. That's all DC is.
It's a back scratching club.
You're in no position to scratch anybody's back, and you've already made it known that if you get there, you're not going to scratch anybody's back. I don't scratch people's back. You know,
It's a back scratching club. People see this is the thing. This is what they tell you. They tell you that Trump wants to be a dictator. Trump wants to be a dictator, and he's a threat to our democracy. Folks, we don't have a democracy. What we have here is an oligarchy. We have a small group of powerful people that run our country, run our world in a back-scratching club. So those are your choices. Even if you believe that Trump is a dictator and has the ambitions of being a dictator, your choices are not democracy or a dictator. Your choices are a dictator or a oligarchy of a small group of powerful people, an oligarchy of a well-funded cabal of powerful people. Those are your choices. An oligarchy of a cabal of well-funded powerful people or the dictator. And I don't believe that Trump is a dictator or has any plans of being a dictator at all. I just think that's all hype, a story by the well-funded cabal of powerful people to control flows of information. So you'll think that Trump has dictatorial ambitions. But you're being run by an oligarchy right now. This guy says that it's a back-scratching club.
And on the outs, knowing that if you get there, you're not going to scratch anybody's back. I don't scratch people's back. You know, I've been on the outs for a lot of people for a long time, but I don't scratch my back. You know, where are we in 2 years if they steal the election again?
Listen to what you're saying. Why don't we do something about it?
What?
So that we the people can pick our...
What can we do?
I'm not willing to accept that. Then I'm going to be the biggest pain in these people's... Go back and tell them that. I'm running, and I'm going to be the biggest pain in their...
I'm willing to tell them that.
And they're going to have to kill me to stop me.
They got the cartels. Now, I want you to listen to Glenn Beck's theory on who he thinks they are. And, I think that just listen to Glenn Beck's theory about who he thinks they are, and then we'll talk about it.
That is incredible and incredibly slimy. The name of the guy who is making this offer is the chair of the Arizona Republican Party. I've talked to some legal experts. They're not sure if this is illegal. You're not sure if this is illegal? You're offering someone a bribe. If it's not illegal, it should be illegal. Some very powerful people want you to step aside. Some very powerful people do not want you in. Now, what can they give you to step aside? Nothing. Money, jobs, nothing. No, we're not trying to stop you. Pause. Just a pause. This is in our own party. Now, let me ask you.
It's in both parties.
The mom question. Who's responsible? He says it's the powers back east, some people back east. Now, I think I know who he's talking about because I have heard through the grapevine for the last few years about this kind of stuff, not this blatant, but this kind of stuff happening because somebody's got a big, huge treasure chest. Now, the mom question is motive, opportunity, and means. Let's ask mom, who has the motive to stop Kari Lake from going into the Senate? Who has the opportunity to do it? And who has a giant Senate chest that has used it in, I think, ways that the average Republican would not be very proud of.
So I love what Glenn Beck is doing here. I don't particularly trust Glenn Beck, I'm going to be honest with you. But he says the mom test. He says motive, and then he says who would have the motive. I mean, he doesn't give you any hints in motive. So when you say who would have the motive, I can think of a lot of people who would have the motive. And then he says opportunity, and he doesn't give you any hints about when he says opportunity. And then the last M is I can think about tons of people who have the opportunity too. So without him giving you a little hint. And then he says I guess the last M was for money. And then he says, who's got a large Senate chest? And that's a hint because he says Senate chest. Who's he talking about there? He's talking about Mitch McConnell and Mitch McConnell's super PAC, of course. But I mean, without the hint, I could think of a lot of people who have the motive, the opportunity, and the money. Why do I have to single myself to think about one person, Mitch McConnell, and that Mitch McConnell is the they back east? See, this is what people need to understand. When he says they back east, he doesn't even need to be talking about Washington. He could be talking about New York City back east, because what people need to understand is that the people who are in Washington work for the people in New York City. The people in New York City, that's where the big covens are, where the most powerful people are. The powerful people aren't in Washington, D.C. The powerful people are in New York City. They're the ones who've run things, and New York City has always run things in this country. New York City was the capital of the colonies before the Constitution was ratified, and they agreed in the Constitution that they were going to move the capital to the Potomac River. But New York City was the capital, and just because they moved the capital after the Constitution was ratified to where Washington, D.C. is now. Washington, D.C. is the stage, people. That's the stage. The people with the real power back east, the wicked witches of the east, are in New York City. So no, I'm not ready to go with Glenn Beck and say that this was Mitch McConnell, so we have some fall guy that we can blame this all on Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell may very well have been involved, but I don't think it stops at Mitch McConnell. I think Mitch McConnell's part of a larger cabal of powerful people, an oligarchy that are running our country behind the scenes, namely from New York City. That's where they're running it from, not Washington, D.C. Now, I want to talk now about, real briefly, I want to play the clip of Kari Lake, and Kari Lake actually gives her theory about who she thinks that they are. Give me one moment.
I'd gotten a call from Jeff, and he said, "Hey, I'm real close to your house. I'm like right outside your neighborhood. I got to come over. Are you around?" And I said, "I'm really busy right now, to be honest. I'm finishing my book. I'm packing for CPAC." And he goes, "It'll just be real short, 5-10 minutes." And I'm writing.
Old doesn't get the message. Jeff sounds like him.
I said, "Jeff, if this is about talking me out of running for Senate, because some other people in kind of his circle have been trying to talk me out of running for Senate, I'm not really interested." And he said, "Well, no. I just, it'll be 5 minutes, but I can't talk to you about what I have to say. It can't be done on the phone. I have to do it in person," which is always like a big red flag that goes up, right? It's like, what? So I thought, well, maybe there's going to be a threat. I just didn't know what to expect. So I just flipped on a little microphone and invited him into my home. And he sat at my dining room table, and that's what transpired. And I was really shocked. I was horrified at the time. I'm like, is this really happening? This is, am I on candid camera? What's going on here?
Right.
But it wasn't until I re-listened to it, 11 months later, just earlier in the week, in front of my daughter, and she heard it and my husband heard it, and we went, "Oh my gosh, this is absolutely bribery. This is bribery."
Yeah, it's not only bribery; it's combined with intimidation. When someone is saying, "Well, a lot of these people would like it if you stepped back," and so in one hand, you could have some money, or on the other hand, you now know that there are these powerful people who really don't want you popping your head up. And
when he says that when she says that they're going to kill me, the guy didn't say, "No, we're not going to kill you." He said, he didn't say, "No, we're not going to kill you." He said that there's the cartel is in all 50 states. So you could be right, because we use the cartel to kill people. That's what he said. So what he's saying is right, that it's not only the bribery, it's bribery with the intimidation. That's how these people operate.
Yeah, it's not only bribery; it's combined with intimidation. When someone is saying, "Well, a lot of these people would like it if you stepped back," and so in one hand, you could have some money, or on the other hand, you now know that there are these powerful people who really don't want you popping your head up, and it's almost like they're trying to give you a choice while letting you know that you have no choice. That's what really bothers me.
Well, it just shows you wonder why more good people don't get into politics. Yeah. If this is happening to everybody who dares to step foot in politics, this is why there's very few people. And this is why they hate Trump. I know you guys don't want to get political, but
no, it's fine.
Washington, D.C. hates Donald Trump. Yep. I want to send people to Washington, D.C. that Washington, D.C. hates. In this audio recording, you heard about the back scratching club. I'm not going to join the back scratching club.
Right.
I'm going to join the ass kicking club. Okay.
Yes.
And we're not going to be scratching backs. And they already don't want me. That's fine. The people do.
Right.
And we need to get some people who are in D.C. who are actually going to do as our founding fathers envisioned and work for we the people.
Yes. Right.
And what they want. And you lose your freedoms when you do that. But this just goes to show you how deep the corruption in D.C. is. I don't know. Somebody said, who was it back east? Who are these people? I've thought about it. I've come up with people it could be. But the sad thing is it could literally be hundreds of people or entities.
Right.
And most people don't have the corruption in D.C. is. I don't know. Somebody said kind of their line.
Right.
And what they want. And you lose your freedoms when you do that. But this just goes to show you how deep the corruption in D.C. is. I don't know. Somebody said, who was it back east? Who are these people? I've thought about it. I've come up with people it could be. But the sad thing is it could literally be hundreds of people or entities.
Right.
And most people don't have the ability. A lot of these politicians, maybe they don't have the megaphone that I have where they can say, look what just happened.
Right. Yeah.
They just don't have the ability.
Well, then, so she says that it could literally be hundreds of people or entities. See, now she's on more the correct, she's on more of the correct track than Glenn Beck is, trying to pinpoint one person and say that it was Mitch McConnell and Mitch McConnell's super PAC. No, Kari Lake says no. I mean, it could be hundreds of people or entities. Sure could. Yeah. Remember The Simpsons, the Stonecutters Guild, that episode? Hold on.
Homer, a man who called himself you-know-who just invited you to a secret wink-wink at the you-know-what. You certainly are popular now that you're a stonecutter.
Oh, yeah. Beer bust, beer blast, keggers, Steinhoist, AA meetings, beer night. It's wonderful, Marge. I've never felt so accepted in all my life. These people look deep within my soul and assigned me a number based on the order in which I joined.
Who controls the British crown? Who keeps the metric system down? We do. We do.
Who leaves Atlantis off the maps?
Who keeps the Martians under wraps? We do. We do. Who holds back the electric car? Who makes Gutenberg a czar? We do. We do.
So maybe it was the Stonecutters Guild, Kari, that sent the guy in to blackmail you. Maybe it was the Stonecutters from the Simpsons episode. So you guys remember what I've been telling you about these witches and about how they are Luciferian, essentially, and they believe Lucifer, Satan, was the person who gave humanity light, and light is knowledge. And they have this whole mythology that goes back to the Garden of Eden, the story in the Bible of Adam and Eve, and how the serpent, who represents Lucifer, he deceives the woman to eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And these witches, they've taken the story and turned it on its head. That they believe that Lucifer was the good being because he is the one who introduced humanity to light, and that's why they worship Lucifer, whose name means light, that he is the light bearer. And I was telling you that in the past few podcasts, and then this new cartoon that Amazon put out, I saw it a couple of clips from it, and it's an adult animation called Has Been Hotel, and it's on Amazon. I want you to listen to a little bit of the clip about this. Hold on. This is Has Been Hotel. Take a look at this clip.
Well, hello there, you wayward sinner. Do you like blood, violence, and depravity of a sexual nature?
Oh, Daddy, Do you really expect me to memorize this whole script?
Of course you do. That's why you're in hell. What would you say if I told you there was a place to stay that had none of that? Welcome
Look at
to
the eye here.
Hotel
Look at here.
What would you say if I...
This represents the eye that they told you was the eye of Abraham, of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That eye right there.
I told you there was a place to stay that had none of that. Welcome to the Has Been Hotel. Your last desperate attempt at salvation starts here.
So it's cute. It's a adult animation, and it's all about hell. Well, I want you to look at this clip from that animation. And I couldn't believe this when I saw this, that in this animation, they tell you the entire story that these witches believe about Lucifer and what I've been telling you in the past few podcasts. Take a look at this.
So Amazon is putting out a new cartoon about how Satan was secretly the good guy.
Once upon a time, there was a glowing city protected by golden gates, known as heaven. It was ruled by beings of pure light, angels that worshipped good and shielded all from evil. Lucifer was one of these angels. He was a dreamer with fantastical ideas for all of creation, but he was seen as a troublemaker by the elders of heaven, for they felt his way of thinking was dangerous to the order of their world. So he watched as the angels began to expand the universe in their ways. From the dust of earth, they created Adam and Lilith, equals as the first of mankind.
So not Adam and Eve, that, and I haven't even told you guys about Lilith yet, because we haven't gotten into Mesopotamia, which I did say that we were going to in this podcast. It doesn't look like we're going to, but I will attempt to get to, and you're going to see why I want to talk about Mesopotamia here, because in this story where they're telling the story from the Bible, from Genesis, about how Lucifer was an angel and Lucifer was banished out of heaven. This is all in the Bible. This is Bible mythology or Bible stories that they have taken and they have created mythology around it. There's nothing in the Bible about Lilith. Lilith is mythology, but that's what they tell you in this story here. I'm going to tell you who Lilith is in just a moment.
Seen as a troublemaker by the elders of heaven, for they felt his way of thinking was dangerous to the order of their world. So he watched as the angels began to expand the universe in their ways. From the dust of earth, they created Adam and Lilith, equals as the first of mankind. But despite this, Adam demanded control, and Lilith refused to submit to his will.
Adam demanded control, and Lilith. Now, you guys remember the Lilith fair? That I think it was, what's her name? The artist that was, God, what is that woman's name that started the Lilith fair? I'm not going to draw, but the Lilith fair was named after this character in their mythology about Adam's first wife before Eve was this character Lilith.
Adam and Lilith, equals as the first of mankind. But despite this, Adam demanded control, and Lilith refused to submit to his will. She fled the garden. Drawn in by her fierce independence, Lucifer found her, and the two rebellious dreamers fell
rebellious.
In love.
It goes back to that rebellion. The first rebel to rebel against the establishment is what Rules for Radicals says. that Saul Alinsky, that the first rebel to rebel against the establishment and do it so effectively that he won his own kingdom, the kingdom of hell.
Demanded control, and Lilith refused to submit to his will. She fled the garden. Drawn in by her fierce independence, Lucifer found her, and the two rebellious dreamers fell deeply in love together. They wished to share the magic of free will with humanity, offering the fruit of knowledge to Adam's new bride, Eve, who gladly accepted. But this gift came with a curse, for with this single act of disobedience, evil finally found its way into earth. With it, a new realm of darkness and sin, and the order heaven had worked to maintain was shattered. As punishment for their reckless act, heaven cast Lucifer and his love into the dark pit he had created.
So Lilith is in hell with Lucifer. You got to understand that.
Heaven cast Lucifer and his love into the dark pit he had created, never allowing him to see the good that came from humanity, only the cruel.
So Satan.
So she's going to say here.
Satan's the victim now?
So Satan's the victim now. Not just now. Satan's always been the victim in their mythology. We're going to get to talking about Mesopotamia in the next podcast. But the reason that I want to tell you about Mesopotamia is because of stories like Lilith. This is Lilith. This is the Wikipedia page on Lilith. And it says that Lilith is a female figure in Mesopotamia. Okay? Or a female figure in Mesopotamian and Jewish mythology. Theorized to be the first wife of Adam and supposedly the primordial she-demon. Lilith is cited as having been banished from the Garden of Eden for not complying and obeying with Adam. So this is the beginning of the divine feminine. And we're going to talk more about the divine feminine when we get into talking about Mesopotamia. That's the reason that I want to take you back to Mesopotamia and tell you about the Akkadian people and the Sumerian people, because these people introduced so much into our world. This is the very first cities, the very first nations, and then the very first empires started here in the Fertile Crescent, which is present-day Iraq. We get so much from these people. We get mathematics that we still use today. We get beer that we still drink today. We get, what else do we get? The way that we chart the stars comes from these people. They invented the wheel. So much of the things, slavery. Slavery started in Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is a Greek word that means middle of two rivers or middle of rivers. And it is these two rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. The land between those two rivers is where we get the name Mesopotamia from. And this, again, is the cradle of civilizations. But one of the other things that these people gave us was collective worship. And the way these people worship their gods. And this was the first time before people moved down into lower Mesopotamia and created these cities. They were mountain dwellers. They lived in caves and they were pretty much nomadic. This was the first time that people came together and they created the mythology that is the roots of the witchcraft and the magic that I've been telling you about. That they use a lot of this Egyptology and pyramids and stuff, and that's why I was telling you the whole time we were talking about Egypt is that this stuff predates Egypt. This stuff goes back to the 7,000 years to the earliest men And I'm going to tell you about their gods, the Anunnaki. I'm going to tell you about how they worship these gods and the ziggurats that they built throughout Mesopotamia to showcase their gods and to do these huge theatrical displays to capture the minds of the people. That's how they ran their society. So we're going to get into talking about this region in the next podcast. And this is where the story of Lilith comes from, but not only Lilith, a lot of other mythologies and parts of witchcraft come from this area. And I want to tell you about it, and we'll get started talking about that. Hopefully in the next podcast. I had hoped to do it today. I have everything ready to get talking about this, but I had to cover what's going on with this border issue. I definitely wanted to cover what was going on with that phone call with Kari Lake, because all this stuff just reinforces what I've been telling you over the past few weeks and what I'm going to continue telling you about what we're really dealing with here and this spiritual warfare and this witchcraft that we're confronting. That's the episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be back with episode 181 on Monday. You guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.